In today's video, we are going to be expanding our ruined city by adding a build into this area right here. But not only will this building expand our city, it's also going to have some scary secrets in it. So let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back everyone to the Project Nordinium server. Our project for today is going to be a lot of fun to work on, but it is going to require a lot of different types of blocks. A lot of the different types of blocks that we are going to be using are in front of us, but not only are we going to be using these blocks, we've also got some more that we're going to be adding in the new build, but we're going to need to find an efficient way to manage all of the blocks that we're going to be using. Because if it was challenging over here where we only had 66 different types of blocks, it's going to be even more challenging with this one because we've got 87 different types of blocks. Now it might sound like I'm trying to set up the use of shelves here, but we haven't upgraded to the copper age on the server yet. So we don't have access to shelves, which means we're going to need to rely on what we can put in our inventory as well as what can be held in shulker boxes that we can carry with us. But before we can start organizing the blocks that we're going to be using, we first need to collect them up. So let's get those collected. So we now have in these shulker boxes all of the blocks that we're going to be using for this build. And while there aren't a lot of blocks that we're going to be using, there's a lot of variety here. When I was building this side, there was just enough space to have the blocks that I was using in my inventory, plus all of the shulker boxes with the backup blocks. So that way I could just go through and build and replace the blocks without having to do a bunch of back and forth between where the shulker boxes were at and then where I was building. But I can't necessarily do that here because A, we've got a lot more shulker boxes, and B, we have a lot more variety in the types of blocks that we're using. And so if I were to try to do that here, there just wouldn't be enough space. So what I'm thinking that we're going to need to do is we're going to be building this in a couple of different phases. So the first phase, we're going to go through and we've got to make some changes to the terrain. So we're going to use the terrain blocks for that part. And then I can't decide whether we should build the interior of the building and then do the exterior, or do the exterior of the building and then build the interior. I think splitting it up though is going to make the most sense as it'll be the most efficient way to do this. We've also got some lava under here and I want to do something about it because I don't want a bunch of lava underneath this city, and we're going to be digging through this area anyway. So we got to get this cleared out. I think we can just use some gravel to fill this in and then we'll dig it out. And that should just about do it. But enough with the distractions. It's now time to get started with our project, and we've got some modifications we're going to be making to this terrain. The first thing that we need to do is we got to remove some of these trees back here because we're going to be building up there. We're also going to be extending this rocky terrain up to where the snow level is. So we've got to do that. And then we've got to make room for our build as well as dig out a canal that's going to be going down the center here. So let's get to it. So here is our latest build for this city, and I am super excited to be able to show you a lot of the different details that have been added in, especially in the interior, which may have been a little bit more difficult to see during the time lapse. But if we go up these steps, we're going to go into the main hall here, and it's a lot of overgrown areas. We've got a lot of different details added in. You can see that there's not only the leaf particles coming from the leaves, but we also have water dripping down from the ceiling. And I think that adds some nice effects to it. But as we go through here, we can go to the back and we've got a staircase which is going to take us up to the different floors in this building. This staircase is a little bit precarious. We've got some holes in it, so you got to be careful as you go up. There's some areas where you have to jump across. And then we can go into here and we've got these rooms, which on this side, you can see that the back of the room is collapsed. And so we've got a bunch of dirt and debris that have come in through here. But then over on this side, the room is a little bit more complete, even though it does have quite a bit of overgrowth as well. But there's one more floor that we can take a look at, which is going to be the top floor. And if we go all the way up, you can see this room is going to have a lot more light because we've got that glass ceiling, even though the glass has started to crumble away and to break. So it's not all filled in. We've got a lot of openings and gaps there. One thing that I did need to do to not mess up the lighting on the ground floor was put in this ceiling right here. So we've got slabs and leaves, and this helps to create the shadow effect so that down here, it doesn't have the full bright light effect of up here. And I think it works as a nice way to separate out where the staircase is from the rest of this room. But after building the ruined section last time and then this building this time, I am really starting to get into building these ruins, and it's a lot of fun. I can't wait to start adding in the rest of the builds for the city, but we're not done yet. There is still something that I want to add into this room because you can see along the back here, we've got the creaking hearts that go all the way across here. We've also got them over here. Now, not only is that a nice decorative block to use, but as you may know, we can use these creaking hearts to spawn in creaking. And I think adding in some creaking would help to make this place not only a ruin, but a bit of a scary ruin to be in, especially at night. So if you have a creaking heart and you have some pale oak logs, if you put a pale oak log down, then the creaking heart, and then a pale oak log on the one above it, this is going to activate the creaking heart, and then at night, it will allow it to spawn in a creaking. Now, I want to be able to toggle this so that it's not always going to be on, and I just broke that. I forgot that I didn't have silk touch on that axe. But as I was trying to say, what we can do to toggle that is that we can put a piston underneath to push up the pale oak log, and that's a bad example because we're not going to be able to do it that there. But over on these ones, if we were to break these, we could put a pale oak log here and then just have the piston pull it away or push it up. And that would be able to allow us to toggle whether or not these are going to be active and spawning in creakings. Because I don't want to have a bunch of creakings while I'm trying to build. I want to be able to toggle that off while I'm building, and then afterwards we can have that effect when the city is all completed. I also think that we need to do a little bit of work because I don't know if you can hear the zombies, but there are some zombies in the walls and we need to light up that area to not have that zombie noise all the time. So we still have quite a bit of work to do. If we go back around behind this wall, we've got this space here, and I've gone through and added in the pale oak logs above some of these creaking hearts. We're not going to activate all of them. We're going to only activate a few. And then what we're going to do underneath each of these is we're going to leave a space because that's where this pale oak log is going to go. And then we're going to go down one more, and this is where we're going to put the sticky piston. And I think we can just do it like that. And then if we put the pale oak log there, then when this piston is activated, it'll push it up against the creaking heart. So we're going to end up with something like this. Now I've added in some redstone and repeaters along here, and that way when this line is activated, all of these pistons are going to go up and activate our creaking hearts. And then when we remove these, it's going to deactivate them. Now it is nighttime, so I think they may have spawned in some creakings. We're going to sleep because we don't want those creakings to be there. And then we can finish getting this built up. The first thing that I've got to do is fill in all of these blocks so that way we don't have any creakings spawning in behind here, because that would defeat the whole purpose of having those. And then I've got to add in the pistons and the pale oak logs on the other side of the room, and then connect them up with repeaters and redstone. And now we've got to work out where we want to activate this from, because we then need to run those lines up to that point. And I think the best place to do that would be somewhere along on our bridge. So I'm going to have to dig out underneath all of our roads and get a redstone line that goes all the way down and over to the bridge. Now I have a redstone line that runs all the way across and underneath our roads to over where the bridge is. And if you look up here, you can see we've got this soul sand block right here. And we're going to be putting our button on top of that. So that is where we need to get this redstone line to go to, is from down here to up there. And that is our next thing that we're going to be working on. So what we need to do is put a sticky piston here. We're going to put a redstone block on that. And I've now built up a little T flip-flop right here. And what this is going to allow us to do is to take the button press and make it so that it creates a constant signal that is going to activate our pistons. So if we press this button here as an example, what that's going to do is going to activate this system. It's going to send the signal down through the line. And as you can see, even though this is a button, it's going to keep this activated. And then we're going to press that again and it's going to deactivate it. Now, the way that this works is that these are droppers here. So there's an item in this dropper. It sends it up and around, which is then going to end up in this dropper here. We're going to take the comparator and send that signal all the way through. And then once we press the button, it just cycles it all the way through the system so we can turn it on and off, just like if this were a switch. Now I'm going to leave it activated so that I can go back through our line and make sure that I've got repeaters at the correct location so that the signal runs all the way through and up into our building. And that all looks good. You can see our pistons are activated. So we're going to go back through and deactivate the system. And then we're going to run a final test by putting the button in the correct location. So if we place the button on this soul sand block and activate it, we should hear the piston, which I did hear the piston. And now if we go over to this building, we should be able to see all of the creaking hearts are activated, and it looks like they are all activated. This is perfect. Sometimes I can build things with redstone, but let's go back and deactivate it for now. And what I'm thinking that we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding in a lot more of the creaking hearts throughout this city as we go along, and they're all going to be connected up with this line. So we're going to be able to turn on the creakings or turn off the creakings depending on whether we want to have them activated. And it'll be throughout this city once it's all finished. But now that we've got this system all set up, I think we should go ahead and give it a test to see if we can get the creakings to spawn in. So we're going to activate it, and let's head over to our build and see what we've got spawning in inside. All right. Ooh, we've already got some creaking here on the outside. Ooh, this is perfect. Now, I don't understand. Okay, I just had to get closer. Could we go past them and survive? Oh, ouch, ouch. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. They're going to follow us in. This is exactly what I was hoping for. This is so going to be intense because if we try to go up, now can they follow us upstairs? Ooh, yes, they can. Now, one area where we might be able, oops. Okay. Fell down. They're following me. Run. They are so fast. Okay. But we can fly. So there we go. We are in a pretty good spot, but we're getting a bunch of other mobs. So let's go ahead and deactivate the system and sleep. So that worked out exactly as I was hoping it would work out. And I am so excited now. We're going to have these creakings all scattered throughout this city once it's completed. And it's going to be a spooky place to come to at night. And taking a look from up here on the wings, we are actually starting to fill in this space nicely. We're getting this corner's filled in. This center area is filled in. We've still got a long ways to go to fill in the area down there. And I've got some ideas for what we're going to be doing along the cliffside as well. We are making quite a bit of progress on this base, and I am super excited about where we're going. But I think that is where we are going to leave it for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And until next time, see you later.